If assessment is meant to support learning, why does it often feel like a test of memory instead? Looking back on my educational journey from elementary school up to college, one of the most consistent and challenging aspects that I faced was the regular assessment in language and literature. After every lesson, my teacher would always conduct tests, quizzes, or written outputs to evaluate our understanding. At first, I found very stressful. I often feel anxious, especially when I wasn't confident in my answer, or when I struggle with vocabulary, grammar rules, or interpreting literary texts. And the most challenging moment that I faced was during my high school years when we were asked to write a critical essay on a poem titled The Road Was Not Taken by Robert Frost. I spent nights trying to understand the deeper meaning of the text. There are words that unfamiliar or new to me. I read it again, researching what are the literary devices the poem being used. Another challenge was public speaking during again in literature classes, especially when we had to perform or recite the poems. I have used to very shy and standing in front of class felt terrifying. Do you have any experiences about this? What are your struggles? What have you learned from that experiences? What are your strategies in coping that one? Although it was very exhausting, but it taught me the patience and how to express my ideas more clearly. But over time and with patience, I slowly gained confidence. Despite the pressure and challenges, these experiences shaped my appreciation for language and literature. The continuous assessment pushed me to improve, and they helped me to realize the value of hard work, expression, and understanding the beauty behind words and stories or poems. I've developed some effective strategies to help me prepare for assessment, especially in language and literature. One of the most helpful approaches I've found is actively taking down notes during discussion. Instead of just listening passively, I make sure to write down important points, especially keywords and unfamiliar terms. This strategy has made a big difference in how I understand and retain the lessons. For example, during the lesson on figurative language, I wrote down terms like metaphor, personification, and hyperbole, along with a simple definition and examples my teacher gave. Later on, when it was time for the assessment, I was able to review my notes and confidently answer the question. It felt good to realize that a small habit like taking notes could actually boost my performance. Another thing I do is to highlight or underline key ideas while reading literature texts. This helped me to quickly go back to the important parts when we're asked to analyze or interpret them. In one instance, we're given a surprise essay question about the theme of the short story. Because I marked the main events and emotional turning point in the story, I was able to organize my thought faster and write more coherent response. These strategies may seem simple, but they have made a huge impact on how I manage assessment. This helped me stay focused, reduce my stress, and feel more prepared. Over time, they also helped me to become more independent and confident in learning process. Why I am telling you this? It's because it's related to our topic discussion, which is the formative assessment, summative assessment, Tests for literary information, and tests for literary appreciation. Formative assessment is done during the learning process. It helps both teachers and students to see how well the lesson is being understood. For example, include taking notes, answering questions during discussion, or short quizzes after a lesson. These are used to guide and improve learning. Summative assessment happens after the learning is finished. It checks the students has learned overall. For example, our final exams, graded essays, or end of unit tests. These are used to measure learning at the end of the topic or course. Experience when the teacher gives a quiz or activity after each lessons. That's a form of formative assessment. And when you take the bigger test or write a full essay at the end of the unit, that's summative assessment. Again, formative assessment is done during the lesson to check if students are understanding. It helps to improve while learning. Example, short quizzes, class activities, or writing notes. Summative assessment is done after the lesson to see what you have learned. Example, final tests, big projects, or graded essay. Formative helps you while learning or during learning. Summative checks what you've learned after at the end of the unit lessons. Let's proceed to the literary information and literary appreciation. Tests of literary information check how much you know about the literature. This includes facts like the author's name, the setting of the story, the character, plot, or the definition of literary terms like simile or metaphor. For example, who wrote The Road Was Not Taken? Or what is the meaning of the metaphor? The next one is the test of literary appreciation. This one is to check how well you understand and feel the meaning of the message of the story, poem, or play. This test often asks your opinion, how a story made you feel, how well you can explain a theme or idea in the text. Example, what lesson did you learn from the story? Or how did the poem make you feel? Once again, tests of literary information check what you know about a story, poem, or book. Example, name of the characters, author, settings, or the meaning of the words. Tests of literary appreciation check how well you understand and feel the story. Example, what the story means, what lesson you've learned, or how made you feel. Literary information is based on facts, and literary appreciation is based on feelings and understanding. In other words, literary information means that what you know about the story or poem. Literary appreciation is what you understand and feel about the story or poem. To be honest, I have faced many challenges when it comes to language and literature assessment. One of the biggest difficulties for me was understanding and analyzing the literary text. Sometimes the stories or poems we studied use deep or symbolic language, which made it hard for me to grasp the meaning of the story. I often felt confused during discussion and unprepared when it came time for written assessment. Another challenge I experienced was expressing my thoughts clearly, especially in essays writing. I would have the ideas in mind, but I struggled with organizing them and using them in my own words. This affected my confidence and sometimes doubted my ability to perform well in assessment. What helped me to overcome these struggles was changing my approach to learning. I started reading more actively, highlighting unfamiliar words, asking questions, and summarizing each paragraph in my own words. I also took down notes during class discussion, writing keywords and explanation so I could review them later. Over time, I also learned to ask for help when I didn't understand something. I would talk to classmates or approach my teacher for clarification. Little by little, I improved. I realized that it's okay to struggle as long as I keep trying to improve. These challenges taught me the value of persistence, preparation, and importance of developing good study habits. These are my practical tips and advice for succeeding in language and literature assessment. Number 1, take down notes during discussion. Write down important points your teacher mentions, especially keywords, literary terms, and unfamiliar vocabulary. These notes become valuable study guides when it's time for a quiz or written test. Number 2, highlight key ideas in text while reading stories, poem, or essays. Underline or highlight the main themes, literary devices, or a powerful lines. This will make easier to refer back when writing an analysis or answering comprehension question. Number 3, build your vocabulary. Make a list of the new words you come across, look up their meanings, and practice using them in the sentences. This helps a lot, especially in essay writing and understanding the complex text. Number 4, practice writing regularly. Try writing in short summaries, reflection, or even diary entries based on what you've read. The more you write, the more confident you become in expressing your thoughts clearly and comprehensively. Number 5, review past assessment. Look at your previous test papers or essays to see where your lost points. Learn from your mistakes and ask your teacher for feedback to improve. Number 6, ask questions. Don't be afraid to speak up if you don't understand a part of the lesson or the meaning behind the literary work. Discussing with your classmates or teacher can give you a new perspectives. Number 7, stay consistent with studying. Don't wait until the day before the test. Review your notes regularly, reread information or important texts, and quiz yourself with a sample question. And my final advice is be patient with yourself. Language and literature are not just memorizing facts, they about understanding, interpretation, and expression with practice and the use of right strategies. And do not worry, you will be get better over time. Okay? Language and literature as assessment can be hard, but taking down notes, studying little by little, and asking for help really makes a difference. Keep trying, and you'll get better each time.